If you're hearing this in your Rolls Royce, then Donald Trump's tax plan is for you.
You're rich as hell. We're going to give you a tax cut?
But for everyone else, there's Kamala Harris's plan.
Under my plan, more than 100 million Americans will get a tax cut.
Because that guy in the Ferrari doesn't need another break. But Kamala Harris knows you sure could use one. Paid for by FFPAC, ffpac.org. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold! Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. And I've got a fellow podcast guest for you, Rand Selig, coming out of the Silicon Valley. He's actually Stanford-educated and trained, and he's got a fantastic background. He's been on a guest on over 30 podcasts. He's got an interesting, unique slant. He's going to delve into more of the how-to, and I'm really happy to welcome Rand to the show. Welcome, Rand.
Dr. Lou, it's a great pleasure to be with you today.
Yeah. I love it when people address me formally, and I like to keep the podcast very informal. So all my friends call me Chris. And start off by your journey. You have kids as physicians, and you're in entrepreneurship and business. So talk about you and how you got there and how the audience can benefit from your presence today.
Yeah, thank you. I could start way, way back, but I think I'll just start with a decision to continue in my formal education by getting a master's in business administration from Stanford. And that was very powerful because it opened incredible doors. So I chose one of 13 in my class of 300 to go to Wall Street in corporate finance, not in sales and trading, but in transactions, doing transactions for major corporations. And that's still what I do today, although 3 decades ago, I woke up and said, wait a minute, I'm an entrepreneur. I don't like meetings. So what does that mean? Should I become a forest ranger or should I just stay with this business I have a lot of talent in but make my own firm and make my own decisions about who my clients are and have a moral compass that's somewhat lacking in the Wall Street group? Not that they're bad, but they're amoral. And I wanted to go well beyond that. I built my company based on a series of principles, and it's led to a huge amount of success and an integrated life. And I think that "and" is a huge part of this conversation.
Yeah, I love that because you have experience and exposure to both sides. You got East Coast, you got West Coast, Silicon Valley. Stanford is no joke. It's really a very admirable and prestigious undertaking. We'll start it off, and because you are the author of Thriving, and I love this, how you described and you're successful and you have that. So talk about what it means to thrive in today's world.
Thriving is a function of a number of things. I make a big point in my book that getting on the road to thriving is really all about making choices, unleashing this enormous power we have to make choices about how we spend our time and who we spend our time with, what our habits are, and even even our feelings. I've designed my own life, made many decisions on where to live, what to do, including, of course, starting my own firm. And I think other people can too. And in a kind of poetic way, I like to say that we can be the author of our own story, which has a little magic to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I really love that. And because one of these things I love is because, again, we define success here in the West as making a lot of money, having a large net worth, what we can afford, where we live. But why is it so important to define success on their own terms? Other countries don't have less of a degree of this kind of rat race mentality. How can the listeners identify what truly enough means for them?
Yeah, it is such a huge question for people, certainly in the United States, but increasingly around the world. The message is about success being very limited to an economic set of things is just not helping people at all. In my career, my investment banking career, I've closed more than 250 transactions in the last 3 decades with privately held companies, and I'm working very closely with often the founder and the CEO of the company. And I'd stay in touch with them because I built these great relationships. And I realized that they shrank a lot after they sold their company. Their purpose in life disappeared. The bucket list got ticked off, and maybe their spouse got ticked off. No, but this is a huge question of defining success. I think people know without having to think very hard about it, that success is a lot more than money. These people great people, very talented people, just really had all around them littered with failed relationships. So I'd have to say, were they financially successful? Oh, and easy, yes. But were they successful overall in their life? I have to say no, if for no other reason that they did not have strong, enduring, deep relationships. And it goes beyond that. It goes into their health. Are you mentally and physically healthy? Sometimes if all you're pursuing is the big buck, you've got a lot of stress going on. You can overeat. You cannot get enough exercise. You cannot take the extra time to go out and take a hike, be in nature, appreciate the immense beauty we have in our world, take time to self-reflect and to slow things down. These are all in the way of defining success too narrowly.
Yeah. And I love how individuals such as yourself are broadening the scope. And a lot of times our information just came from either our parents or friends and family and the media. And there's actually more to the story. You talk about relationships and building deep relationships, and how can individuals forge enduring deep relationships with themselves, friends, family, and partners?
Yes, it absolutely does start with ourselves. I say, I have many quotes in my book, but one of them is the most important relationship you'll ever have in your life is the one with yourself. And it starts in this kind of like a series of concentric circles. You get strong, you get to know yourself, you build confidence, you love yourself, and then you can have these relationships with others. And confidence leads to an ability, willingness to be vulnerable, which is a huge part of building a deep and enduring relationship. I have this personal experience. About 10 years ago, I woke up one morning and said, wow, I have a great life. I have so many things about my life are just really going well. I've worked hard to get there, but it's going well. What could make it even better? And I said, a few more really deep and enduring relationships. I picked 6 people. They happen to be males, although I have many female friends too. And I said, I'm going to go talk to them, and I'm going to share some of the concerns and worries and things I'm worried about. They've never seen that from me. They think of me as wearing a little cape with some funny hat. And so I said, I have to realize that it might not move the needle. And there's a possibility, although I didn't really worry about it very much, that say you've been spending too much time in Northern California and you've turned into a real flake. None of that happened. The relationships with the 5 out of 6 became much better. They had some great soothing thoughts for me, and they began sharing their own set of worries that they'd never, ever done with me before. So this is a big part of forming a deep and enduring relationship. Be honest and be willing to be vulnerable.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, you and me, we talked earlier before the recording, and there's, I'm normally based in Texas out of the year. I can always find something when I step out of bed. I can find something to complain, the weather. But then, here during the summer in beautiful sunny California, it's like I step out of bed. It's like I remind myself, you don't have anything to complain about. Moving on to emotional health and forgiveness. What it was so interesting is because I had a classmate that I went to college with, and now he's in the Valley as well. He took his company public, and he was telling me this epidemic of he was saying that money makes you more of what you are. So if you are angry and mean, it'll make you a worse person. But if you're generous and giving, it actually works. stretch or strengthening emotional health, and also letting go, forgiving, and stopping. You talked about people becoming really obese or getting into drugs or getting into alcohol, getting in trouble with the law, also getting divorced. I've seen that in my physician colleagues. I think 7 out of 10 are divorced now. So how do you address this?
I think I want to just take a minute or so and highlight 4 things. One is being positive. I am relentlessly positive, so it comes maybe a little bit easier for me than maybe other folks. But we're living in a tough time for a lot of folks because they're spending a lot of time with social media or the general media. And you can get very cynical. You can get even depressed about things and be pointing a finger saying, those people. And that's not helpful. Being positive, and not in a Pollyannish sort of way, but in a, find something beautiful. If you look for something positive, you'll find it. If you look for something not so attractive, maybe ugly, you'll find that too. So it starts with being positive. It adds, science shows us it leads to 8 to 9 years of added life. Wow. So that's one thing. A second thing is the threefold triangle of stopping self-sabotaging. Again, this is not one that I've had to personally experience very much, but I keep meeting people who are doing that. They're shooting themselves in the foot, and it's hard to have a life journey if you're limping along. They say to themselves, I'm not good at this. I can't do that. I'm not going to apply for that job. They won't even take my application. They don't even follow through with somebody who says, hey, let's have coffee together. Why? Because they think they don't really mean it. Nothing's going to come out of that. I say, even if there's only a 1 in 100 chance of something good happening, take that chance. What's the downside? So stop self-sabotaging. Second one is learning to forgive other people as well as yourself. So what about the other people? Who has gone through life where they don't feel like they've been injured or insulted or offended in some way or another? It's got to be pretty rare. Maybe you're living by yourself on a mountaintop or something. So it really helps to take a look at that. And if the person is no longer in your life, maybe they're not on the planet anymore, you maybe write a letter and you say, here's what happened. It made me feel terrible. I think you owe me an apology, and now I'm forgiving you. Unburden yourself. If it's the person still around, then I think you have to say to yourself, what role did I play? Did I play even a small role in this mess? But there's a chance that you did. It may not have been a big thing, but a small chance of that. And it will help also to take a look, was this intentional or unintentional? Sometimes people just navigate along and they don't realize that what they're doing didn't work for you. And then you have to forgive yourself. And this is, again, being very honest. Nobody has to see you writing down all your mistakes, but turn your mistakes into valuable lessons. It'll help a lot. And then the third of these emotionally healthy things to do in my little triangle is just learning to let go. Now, this was really hard for me, because I've been all about control. I've controlled so much in my life, and I think successfully. But when I took a deeper look at it, I realized, what was I controlling? I was controlling 4 things about myself. I was controlling my attitude. I was controlling how much effort I put into something. I was controlling my behavior, and I was controlling my actions. That counts for a bunch, but it does not account for all the rest of the people around me. And the best I can hope for there is that I have influence, and I can screw that up by doing some stuff, and I can expand it by doing other things. Those are where I actually like doing a little exercise. Chris, we could do this together. I said, like, hold up your fist, and you're holding on something. You'd really like to let go of this, but you haven't been able to. So you see your knuckles. You see your knuckles there. You're holding on so hard. They're white. Okay, turn your fist over. You're saying to yourself, I'd like to let go of this, but I can't. I haven't been able to. More white knuckles. And then one day you say, no, I'm powerful. Maybe I read Rand's book on thriving. I'm a powerful guy. I open my fingers. I open my thumb. And all of a sudden your hand rises because you've let go of this heavy weight. And it's no longer a big burden. You're no longer carrying these heavy rocks in your backpack through your life journey.
Yeah, I really like that. This concept of forgiving and letting go, it's very counterintuitive because it's so easy to do, but it's so hard to do. But once you do it, it's like very free emotionally. The next kind of moving on is this talking about just lifelong learning. And a lot of people, we have this arrival fallacy, but why do you think it's important to become lifelong learner, and how can one fully accept mistakes and turn them into valuable lessons?
There was a study done a number of years ago that said there's 7 personal qualities that lead to life satisfaction and achievement. So I typically take a pause then. People say, okay, I want to know more. One of those 7 is being curious. Hugely important. One, it makes life really a lot more fun if you're curious. And think about a trip you took. What made it fun? Because you were seeing new things, eating different food, hearing people speak differently, maybe wearing different clothes. And it makes it fun. So being curious is important. And being a lifelong learner is, of course, a part of being curious. Being a lifelong learner is so important because we are changing as we go through life, and the world around us changes. We just get on with this idea of being a lifelong learner and being curious. There's an added bonus to being curious, and that is in terms of conflict resolution. So you think about a time when you were butting heads with somebody. They were talking about something. You said, I don't agree with that, and I think it's gobbledygook. Now, you can get yourself into a big problem in that conversation and maybe hurt their relationship overall. But if instead you say, let me be curious. Hey, Chris, I'm curious. Actually, you can use that word. I'm curious. Why do you think that? How did you get to be the way you are about that? And you don't have to change your view, but you can be open and listen carefully to what they have to say. And they may actually turn around and say, and why are you where you are? So it's a way of actually maybe bridging and finding something in common without getting into a big disagreement and a lot of pain.
Yeah, I love that. One of the things is just traveling around the world, it forces you to let go of your preconceived beliefs about just the world and just let it unfold. Because I notice when I go back home, I'm like, my old patterns and beliefs set in. So I try to stay away from home as much as possible. It's just so I can breathe this fresh air. I know how really interesting. I know a lot of guests or hosts invite you back for second and third and webinars. Talk about how people can find you and follow you in your book as well. And any last parting words.
I appreciate that question. I actually yesterday just Googled Rand Selig, and I was delighted, a little shocked. My wife was going, really? I guess you really are a real person. There was 16 pages of things. A lot of them are the podcasts and interviews and so on. So you can easily go there, just Google Rand Selig. You can also go to Amazon, the big behemoth, has my book in 3 formats: hardback, ebook, and paperback. And hopefully later this summer, early fall, I'll have the audiobook. I'll announce that, of course. It's also in all the independent bookstores, so you can get it all over the place there. The other thing to do is to go to my website. Lots of great information there, and that's www.randselig.com.
Yeah, I love that. I really enjoyed talking with guests as yourself. It all gives me a breath of fresh air because I hear so much negative things about Wall Street and Silicon Valley. So it's good to hear somebody that's come out of it and just talk about the real important core issues. And check out the book, Thriving, on Amazon. Leave Rand's socials a like and follow. And thanks so much for coming on.
This has been great. How did the time go by so fast?